Yes, laughter, the coward's response to oblivion.
I'm so excited for the Bell Tells live show. Candela was the first time I've seen you guys live in person, and I cannot wait to see the main campaign live in person. How does it feel to be playing at the Greek Theater?
A little ridiculous. Very ridiculous. Anytime we do a live show, it feels a little ridiculous. I love Los Angeles so much. I love living here, and so I mean the Ace Hotel for Candela was amazing, and just going in for go again. Let's hit another amazing venue that I cannot wait to see the backstage of and run around and be a problem.
Awesome. Can you talk to me a little bit about what goes into the prep for one of these live shows, both for you guys on stage and the people that are kind of helping to build the stages that you guys are going to be a part of in the backstage aspects?
For us, other than a costume, figuring out what we're going to wear, which takes surprising amount of time, and then once we've kind of decided what the theme is going to be, then our poor stylist Jenny Newman goes and tries to collect as many bits and pieces as possible and throw it together for us. And honestly, I will say personally, I just try and not think about it too much until it's far too late, and just sort of pretend it's going to be yet another episode of the game and not get too caught up. Playing it, there's a few differences. Got to be a lot more careful about crosstalk, and also occasionally holding for audience, and the weirdness of having a microphone in your head, and playing it kind of an angle, which is always a little weird. So there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
The crew, on the other hand, is going crazy the entire time, and they're going mad and working really, really hard to make it seem like nothing terrible happened. Occasionally, there is utter chaos backstage, and no one would know. It'll be fine. That's what they say anyway. So
I love it. I do want to talk to you a little bit about the Candela Obscura live show for just a second. What did you find kind of the most challenging aspect of that, and what was the most rewarding?
Oof. Well, I'll say, where to begin? For me anyway, or talking to the cast and everyone, it was the fact that we'd never really done anything quite like that before. Mm-hmm. The interactivity, of course, in the actual between the acts and before the show, with a little bit of storytelling happening outside of the main performance and a little bit of interactivity. It was kind of hard to. We were hoping it was going to go really well. I'm quite pleased. Asking the audience to kind of dress up and be part of it. Definitely because it was sitting outside of our normal, the normal style of game and the normal play. It was interesting writing all of the opening and closing speeches as I think I was writing until about 2 minutes before the opening of the show, and then probably up until the last 60 seconds of the end of the show. We're like, there was a plan to just print it out on paper. I'm like, that's not happening. I'm just still typing as sitting. Go, Spencer, you better kill somebody. I swear to God. This is getting rough. Figuring out how, like, having a stage where the actors could move around, figuring out, there were so many interesting things, actually, like playing with character creation that day. A little bit of, there were just multiple interesting angles to it. Those were big ones for us anyway. The crew always has their own.
No, that was genuinely, I think, one of my favorite theatrical performances I've seen in a while, because I love.
Thank you.
It felt like you stepped into the Fairlands, which was very cool. I loved kind of that mix between, you had the role playing we're used to, and then also fully acting out elements of it. It was so great.
Did you get to interact with any of the cops, or did you not get to? Did they not come and interrogate you?
I did not get interrogated.
my favorite story. One of our actors came over and was trying to get information out of one of the audience members, and their friends kept trying to get them to come to their seats, and apparently the audience member said, "Go away! I'm trying to narc." Busy narking.
Love that.
I look forward to trying to top that. That's our goal.
I love it. And then what have you guys learned from both the live show with Candela and the Mighty Nine reunion that you're looking to take into Bell's Hells? Either something to change or something where you're like, oh, that worked really well, we want to bring that into it.
To actually try and apply the things that we learn rather than just notice them and then ignore them. No. Boy, what did we I mean, that's tough to say. The big one is always pacing, and trying to. It's so easy to keep tempo with each other when we're at the normal table. That just getting into the technical aspect of having a audience be the adrenaline rush, which is intense, and the just technical aspects of sitting that way, of just trying to maintain the tempo so that not just the audience enjoys it, but people who are watching later who have to deal with the slightly slower tempo of the game. But yeah, it's and much less intimate, obviously, as well. But I think we're getting more and more comfortable doing it, although it's still, the adrenaline has not gone away yet. So
yeah, I don't think it's going to go away.
The Greek, oh God, no, I don't even know.
You guys have had a lot of big stuff recently, because you had the Candela show, you have the Bell's Hells show, you guys launched Beacon. How has it felt of all of these things you've been working on for so long be out now for critters to experience?
It's great it's always great to show your work at the end of the test. And God, we have so many more things that we're really bad at slowing down. And there's so many other things that are coming down the pipe that honestly we should probably take a minute to rest on a couple of those laurels at some point. But like Beacon is a constantly evolving thing, and it's encouraging us to make more content, which is good. So we're coming up with some new fun ideas of what to put up there. And the Candela live show was again one of those things where we said, wouldn't that be cool, just a couple too many times, and we're like, oh no, we're doing it now. And yeah, it's awesome. It's nice to see that we can actually pull off a little bit of interactive theater, even mild interactive theater, and that it worked, and maybe try something a little more daring, and a little more daring as time goes on. But yeah, it's amazing. I'm glad people enjoyed it so much.
And then you guys have gone to the pre-tape when you're playing the show now. How does it feel to jump back with a live audience, and not only to have the interaction, but just like seeing their immediate response?
Well, we've played live a few times with Daggerheart now, which if you had asked me before that, I would say that there's no real energetic difference. There was a little bit more of a nerve, of a feeling of nerves, which is surprising because on a functional level, it's not really that much different. The live audience, on the other hand, yeah, there's playing live on the internet, and there's playing live in front of people, and it's hard to describe. It is a very intense roller coaster of having that instant response. I suppose I'll say that the two things are the intense emotional responses are always interesting. Is people actually laughing at your jokes, or not laughing at your jokes, woof, or and it definitely encourages you to be a little snarkier than normal, just biochemically, and then the feeling having an audience be emotionally invested, or having fear. Or having a fear response, even though it's quiet, is intense, and makes the stakes feel very, very heavy. God, my greatest fear is a TPK in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
That would not go over well. Oh,
No,
that'd be so bad. That would feel bad for everyone involved.
be a very quiet drive home.
Yeah, I'd be like, God, I hope no one. Yeah, it's just. Oh, it would be a very, very rough. That didn't sign up for Macbeth at that point. Just like, oh no.
Cable just silent. You guys were like, well, guess it's done.
We came awfully close to a TPK not that long ago, so not to spoil, and we were genuinely starting to have that. I wonder what we'll do. Oh boy. I mean, oh no.
Are there any surprises you can kind of tease for the audience that's going to actually be at the Greek?
I don't know anything.
Okay.
We do a pretty good job of keeping as out of that field as humanly possible. We do not discuss where we're going. Pretty much ever. There's some things occasionally that normally involve working around people's schedules, but I think that's happened like maybe once this campaign, and maybe once. It just doesn't happen very often.
And then not asking for details, but have you guys picked out kind of the theme for your costumes that we're going to see?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have. That's all. I suppose anything else would be
That's
spoiling it.
fine.
But yeah, oh boy. Yeah, I've been getting poor Jenny has been texting me at like 1 o'clock in the morning, going, "How about that?" Yeah, sure.
Gosh, I love it.
Dress up is one of the best parts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I do want to ask you a few questions about kind of where we are at in the campaign at this point.
Oh yeah.
Can you we haven't really seen you talk about Ashton's feelings about the loss of one of his closest friends. Or their closest friends, can you kind of talk to me about Ashton's, like how Ashton is processing the grief of FCG?
I mean, I won't talk to the other characters' experiences. I don't really know necessarily where a lot have come from, but this is not Ashton's first rodeo with somebody close dying. It is especially in certain culture, like subculture groups. It is not uncommon. It definitely is creating some conflicting feelings of who to blame, and which is definitely getting in the way of Ashton's maybe I need to be slightly less self-involved with my emotional issues. Yeah, it is like so many things. Like so many things in a game like this is being put on. I don't want to say a back burner. Well, okay, I guess we're caught up enough that we know that like the notion of like wearing something definitely came up, and that kind of wake, I suppose, would be the best way to put it. And that kind of level of honoring. And definitely, I suppose, I mean, anger is such an easy thing to say for a barbarian, but he's not really that angry of a barbarian as barbarians go. It's other issues, but such a good question. I'm trying to hit it just right. Definitely just a lot of trying to figure out where to put the blame, especially since this is exactly how Ashton knew it was going to go down.
Yeah.
If not there when, I suppose, this was sort of a bit of an inevitability in their head. And so sometimes it's blaming Changebringer, sometimes it's blaming himself, sometimes it's blaming anybody for not listening to him, but right now it's self-recrimination is always is an easy for most of us. So that fight went very poorly for everyone involved. So yeah, and definitely looking for other connection right now and realizing that they've been bad about that forever.
Yeah, definitely. And then what are your thoughts going to AOR, not only without FCG, where that probably would have played a major role in it, but just as a completely new character and getting to explore new parts of AOR after that was a big part of campaign 2?
It's interesting. Ashton and Caduceus have kind of the exact same, are having the exact same response to it, which is, it is absolutely batshit that someone like me is getting to do this. Like, it is very overwhelming. Of this was not part of the universe's plan to actually go to the furthest reaches of the planet and see things that almost nobody had ever seen before. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they're a little awestruck by the whole thing. And again, maybe getting a little, they always are getting a little bit into their head and getting a little mildly self-important. But yeah, it is definitely that's their main push right now. It's just, this is ridiculous. And I don't want to say frustrated, but a little blown away that no one else is having that response of, God, we just went to the moon and now we're here. Does that not you up at all? Excuse the language. Yeah, it's just, how is everyone else okay with this? This is insane. So yeah, like they're definitely doing like, how many people have actually been down here? And I think someone's like, oh, there's been like dozens. I'm like, dozens? That's insane. God. Think about that.
Ashton has the best response, because that's the response I feel like more people should have to that situation.
Yeah, it's just, we're on the, we're like this, there is no reason why it should be us. This is in a very specific level, there's absolutely no reason it should. There's so many reasons it shouldn't be us. We are not, other than like one member of our party, we are not that important. I often say it is a party mostly of sidekicks.
Yeah.
It is definitely, other than Laura, it is all characters who, in any other circumstances, would be mid-level NPCs. Mm-hmm. It is, yeah. It's fascinating. My go-to is Vox Machina, where we're kind of ups trying to become heroes, and Mighty Nine were villains trying to become heroes, or at least trying to not be villains. And then this is more ordinary. These are somewhat ordinary people trying to just have some control over a very, just trying to gain some control over reality. Just very now.
I don't know how control they are.
I'm not saying it's going well, I'm saying they're trying. I mean,
They're trying.
Yeah.
I have to talk to you about Swordgate, because I loved that inter-party conflict, and I think Ashton had one of the most interesting reactions, in my opinion, because Ashton was so quick to say, here's the thing, I do understand where you're coming from, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but also take a step back. Can you talk to me kind of what was in Ashton's head when all of this was going down, especially because they could empathize with Laudna in a way that I think a lot of the other party members couldn't?
Ashton's still coming down off of a lot of, at least, self-realization for whatever good it does, half the battle, but the part that doesn't count. Yeah, he's still coming down off of that self-realization. He's spent most of his life being basically, I don't know if you saw Cruella, but he's basically been like the side, the henchman of a evil genius. So he's not a good person. Well, he's spent most of his life being a somewhat broken, very corrupted person with a very, very well developed moral compass, which is an odd thing to be. And definitely after everything that happened losing having an arm cook, and then kind of getting beaten pretty hard about it. They're feeling very defensive for anyone being what's the word I'm looking for? They're a little blown away that there's not a bit more empathy for everyone's situation right now, especially considering who we are, and feels a little responsible for where Laudna is right now because of what happened when the group was separated, and it was and definitely is very protective of her as well because she is the most paper thin. Stiff breeze goes down, and is someone who is quietly also a bit of a villain, or destined for it on an inevitable level. I don't know. He has a lot of poor opinions, or at least misguided opinions about the group. But I will say the one thing he knows, which I think is definitely true, is that everyone's dealing with their own shit, and the whole point was they're supposed to be helping each other and understanding that everyone in this group he spent his whole life around very broken people, and this is a group of very broken people. You have to hold everyone to a slightly lower standard, and be a little nice about it. And yes, and if that had gone any further, she would have been mincemeat. It would have gone badly for somebody, and it's definitely, there's a protectiveness of everybody, but particularly the people who are on the edge. I will overtalk any of this all the time. I love this sort of thing. So
it was truly one of my favorite, I don't want to say moments because it did last 2 episodes and it was a while, but it was one of my favorite character beats ever, just to see that inter-party conflict and how everyone reacted, because I loved Ashton saying, this is someone who realistically should be a villain and they're trying their damnedest not to be. And I thought that was such a good thing to point out that I think everyone just sort of forgets, because it's completely true.
Yeah, if you have a really loud, bad voice in your head, that can be a rough, it's the damaged voice is bad, and boy, she's got the worst of it. So,
that you made.
And boy, yeah, the Percy in my head is definitely wow, I feel a bit guilty about this whole. This is very much my fault. I love that Marisha made this character. It's such a fun character. And it's so tragic. I was very curious. I don't want to say I was surprised, but it was interesting to watch everybody's reaction to that. And definitely Marisha's she's like, I don't know how not to do this. We're just doing it. Yeah. And after the game, it was very, Liam, we were all like, that was, what a throw. It was nuts.
I loved it. I also completely understood the standpoint of that's the sword that killed me. I'm not super hyped to be around it all the time. Can we not do that? It was great, 'cause everyone's opinion made sense.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel now that Ashton kind of knows more about their past with their connection to Dunamancy and their connection to the Primordials? How are you excited to kind of play with those aspects of knowledge now?
It's interesting. I won't go into too many details, but it was all my characters tend to be paralleling some sort of. I try and find aspects of my reality or my personality that kind of, or history that interconnect into them, and the parallels between some of that and some other real world stuff going on were very intense, and I did my best to reflect reflect my own experience going in and kind of having interesting revelations about one's past, and the assumption that it was going to change everything. And then it was something that they never really thought about, or they thought they were never going to get, so it wasn't really on the menu. And then when it got put out there, it became an obsession. And then they were told they were very special, and immediately it went directly to their heads, and not in that braggart sort of way, but like, oh, now I have all this, and I have power, and I have responsibility, and I'm going to do all this. And then getting into the thick of it and realizing it doesn't really change anything. It just doesn't. They're looking forward to learning less about their parents now that that's kind of beyond them. But the primordials are interesting. It is a connection to the world that they never thought they were going to have. It's something that is talking to them, where nothing else ever has.
Yeah.
And it does explain a lot of the things that have happened in their life, but not all of it either, because they still have that weird thing in their head. But they're trying to pace themselves, because they know they have they know some of their habits. But it is an interesting mix of I don't want to say disappointment, because that's not what it is. There was a bit of disappointment that it didn't change who they were, fundamentally. They were really kind of hoping it would. That's why they started dressing up like Superman briefly. Got the really nice, because they're like, okay, I'm going to be a superhero. I'm not a superhero. That was really no. That was a bad call. But yeah, it has at least made them realize they have to figure out who at least on a practical level, where they come from and what their responsibilities are and what it means, and that it's self-discovery is not necessarily all about self-actualization, but it's also about just learning some cautionary tales.
Yeah.
And trying not to make the same mistakes, and trying to also see what mistakes may be in the future, or what you're capable of. And that's kind of where it's at right now, for as long as they can remember to be smart and not stupid.
I love it. I could talk to you about Ashton and Critical Role all day. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
To see how
I love this.
How all these different things kind of play out in the next few episodes, especially in the live show. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me today, Taliesin.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Two, but I'm tempted to just threaten physically.